Welcome back to another episode of Taking Inventory. This week, we're excited because Amazon and Meta earnings just came out. And so we thought it was perfect time to bring an Amazon expert on the pod and talk about what's happening and what to expect. And so today we're super fortunate to have Adam Epstein, who's an Amazon expert, former president of Perpetua, just somebody who knows the space super well. So Adam, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you very much. It's a pleasure to be here, gentlemen.
Thank you for doing this, buddy.
We really appreciate it. Let's start, for listeners, kind of your background and how you became this expert in the space.
Sure. So I started a couple tech companies myself. One was not so successful. One was marginally successful. It was a mobile payments app and full service restaurants. We sold to our UK competitor, who thereafter sold to Capital One. Then worked for a large Indian fintech company called Paytm. Learned a ton there. It's a really impressive company funded by Alibaba, Berkshire Hathaway, and SoftBank. Bigger than credit cards and debit cards combined in India. Went public relatively recently. And if anyone knows Paytm, they actually had some pretty crazy news where the government of India shut down their payments bank on a whim last night, which is pretty wild. But was GM of that company. Yeah, literally yesterday. It's a bank and mobile commerce ecosystem, and the government of India said you have been non-compliant in too many issues, and they are no longer accepting any deposits. And I'm pretty sure last night, about 30% of Paytm's market cap just completely evaporated, and there's existential fear on whether or not it'll exist pending the government of India's ruling on how they should operate. Which is terrible because it's really a phenomenal Indian success story. Like, there haven't been that many runaway consumer technology companies that have achieved the level of scale that Paytm has. It's an incredible founder, this guy named Vijay. And it's awful to see that Paytm become of this. I don't, obviously, we're not here to talk about ads and not Indian payments, the Indian payment industry, but it's a really interesting company that had some unfortunate news yesterday, and I hope they do well and get out of this mess.
Did you do that? Did you move to India for that?
No. So Paytm had 100% of their operations in India, and very coincidentally, they had a pretty sizable R&D team in Toronto, and so they wanted to decide to expand internationally, and they said Toronto and Canada is a great place to start, and I was GM of those efforts. And we tried to create a super app similar to what they did in India and Canada. Unfortunately, it wasn't very successful for a variety of reasons, and ultimately stopped working at Paytm. But it was an incredible experience. It was a company that you could really see and have a front row seat of hyperscale and excellent culture of just operating with an incredible degree of urgency, taking big swings. And it was an exposure to like large tech of the other side of the world. So, I was there when Alibaba, like literally at the Paytm India office, when Alibaba wrote them a $200 million check to go build a mall and compete with Flipkart and Amazon in India. Had a front row seat to some amazing people at the Toronto office building a joint venture with Paytm, SoftBank, and Yahoo Japan that ended up being Japan's largest mobile wallet, a company called PayPay. Which was just a Herculean effort of an incredible team of about 40 people in Tokyo and Toronto working really hard to build a product that ultimately ended up having, I'm pretty sure, 50 million users and several million small businesses within the first year of launch. And they built it in 100 days in the Toronto office. And I got a front row seat to some incredible engineers doing some of the most impressive work I've ever seen at Paytm. So it was a great experience. And ultimately joined a company called Perpetua as the 8th employee, first go-to-market hire, first non-technical hire. It was pre-customers, pre-revenue, and Perpetua was one of the very early Amazon ad partners. And so we sat on top of Amazon's ads APIs and allowed the buying and measuring of Amazon ads to be as efficient as possible. And this is now 6 years ago. And the story of Perpetua is fun story. The founder and CEO is this guy named Roscoe Hill. He's a really, really impressive founder. He worked at Peter Thiel's hedge fund. Peter Thiel recruited him to Palantir. I'm pretty sure he was employee 15 at Palantir. Did super well there. Left Palantir and with a couple of people to start a company called Blend, which is the US leader in mobile mortgage technology. They went public in the height of 2021. And while he was at Blend, it's a financial services product, which traditionally has very high CAC. And he would go to a lot of ad agencies to discuss user acquisition strategy. And they'd say, "What's your budget?" And he always thought that that was like a really weird thing to start a conversation on, like, "What's your budget?" And his view is, my budget is infinite. If you can create a positive CAC to LTV ratio, like I'll give you the infinite budget. And so he actually left Blend to build the CAC to LTV of the internet. And so that began with experimenting with a variety of advertising platforms. And ultimately, he landed on this thing called Amazon sponsored product ads. And the moment he began working with Amazon sponsored product ads, he was like, "I need to go build a company based on this." And he saw like an 8 to 10x ROAS on Amazon sponsored product ads. And it was very clear that you could build tools that would enable advertisers on Amazon to easily scale and predict their sales by way of several really important building blocks of the uniqueness of Amazon. And I'll cite two really important metrics. So one of them is conversion rate. The conversion rate on Amazon on the whole is like 20% from sponsored product ads. So you get someone to a product detail page, you're going to convert at 20%. I'm not sure what it is on D2C exactly, but I'd probably say low single digits seems like a reasonable conversion rate. You guys agree with that?
Yeah.
Amazon, on average, right now at scale is like 20% conversion rate, which is just wild. The other crazy thing is that over 90% of purchases occur within 24 hours after you click the ad on sponsored product ads. So the moment that someone clicks that ad, there's a greater than 20% chance that they're going to buy that product within a day. So if you build software that can predict those outcomes and get people to your product detail page, you can create really efficient ads. And so the initial Perpetua product was a really, really simple product. Set your target ROAS, set your target daily budget, and AI or machine learning in the background will go buy the ads as efficiently as possible. And what those ads were traditionally paid search ads within the search results of Amazon at the top of search and rest of search. And those are traditionally known as Amazon sponsored product ads. And I had never experienced what real product market fit was until I joined Perpetua, because in my first week, we just simply couldn't keep up with demand. People would come in to our website and we weren't even doing any marketing. People would come into our website and say, "I'd like a demo of our product." And I was the only go-to-market person. So I'd say, "Yeah, let's set up some time for next week." They're just like, "Next week? What about right now?" And we were able to like triple our business from, not triple, but like turn $0 into $10,000 and $100,000 a month really, really quickly, just by building on the back of the tidal wave of opportunity of Amazon. And we continued to scale that out. We did a really good job. We worked really hard. We built an amazing team. And we grew to about $1 billion in managed ad spend, which is an amazing accomplishment, spread across Amazon and other retail media properties. Expanded to all of Amazon's ad units as well as other retail media properties, and ultimately sold to Essential in 2021. Essential at that time was making a big bet in digital commerce. So Essential, for those that are unfamiliar with the company, they run the Cannes Lion Advertising Festival. As well, they own Money 2020. They own a variety of other companies and contents like Work. They own a company, WGSN, that does trend management. But Essential made a bet a little bit before 2021 of acquiring a company called Flywheel Digital, who's quickly become one of the largest retail media agencies in the world. And the CEO of Essential, a guy named Duncan, said, "Wow, this is an incredible opportunity," and made he made about $1 billion in acquisitions spread across a variety of companies, acquiring the best services and the best products to help brands grow on marketplaces globally. And Perpetua was one of those tech purchases that were part of the wider digital commerce portfolio. Within the past year, all of those brands have merged under one brand called Flywheel, and Omnicom just bought Flywheel for, I think, $135 million that closed on early January. And so I was a part of that journey. First go-to-market hire, started as VP of growth, ultimately became co-president. It was an amazing ride. It was an amazing opportunity to see the growth of Amazon's ads firsthand. When I joined, I think Amazon's ad business was about a $8 billion business, and now it's a $50 billion business. And not only that, but we had a front row seat to what has now become the rise of retail media. Retail media 6 years ago was really just Amazon ads, and it's now become this $100 billion behemoth that every single person is talking about and advertising. And we were really able to see the forefront of it, which is Amazon, because most other companies follow Amazon's playbook.
I think that's kind of a good point to maybe just for listeners, given that I think a lot of the listeners are familiar with like more of the social networks, just like how big is Amazon's ad business? Like what's all the stuff with Prime Video? How does it work with Audible? Like what's sort of just like the lay of the land of how Amazon has turned on this ads business?
Sure. So let's unbundle it by breaking down each individual ad unit, and we'll try and do it in chronological order since each ad unit was expanded. So this all really began with sponsored product ads. So sponsored product ads are ads in search that people, when you search a keyword or you search a search term, you click one of those ads, people will pay via pay-per-click ads. Traditionally via Google search. Amazon basically followed the Google search playbook in monetizing search. Sponsored product ads then expanded to the ability to not only target search terms, but they also allowed you to target ASINs. And ASINs are SKUs in Amazon language. So you could then begin to target, they introduce ad inventory on your SKUs and other companies' SKUs. So you would typically see carousels below the fold. Sometimes there would be ads near the buy box. And so sponsored product ads then quickly extended into the ability to buy search terms and then the ability to buy ASINs. It then expanded to the ability to buy these things called sponsored brand ads. So sponsored brand ads occurred at the top of search and directed people to a host of ASINs or a brand store. And brands had the ability to create their own brand store that allowed them to tell a little bit more of their story rather than just the ASIN, which led to reviews and ratings. The next one was sponsored display ads. And sponsored display ads occur both on and off Amazon and are really just another ad unit that Amazon has created to create more and more inventory on the native Amazon purchasing experience, and then offsite ads that are typically done for retargeting for sponsored display. If you landed on a product detail page but didn't convert, sponsored display would allow you to bring back to the product detail page.
And how big is that business? Is that business, just as an example, like in Facebook's world, the audience network kind of like went away.
Yeah.
And then Google's world, Google's like the Google network is smaller and growing slower than YouTube, for example. Is that the same dynamic for Amazon?
A little bit. So collectively, those three ad units that I just described represent sponsored ads. So a way to think of sponsored ads amongst the bunch, sponsored ads are pay-per-click ads that occur on search and product detail pages that are native to the purchasing experience. Now, the way for Amazon to increase sponsored ad revenue is by twofold. One, increase CPCs or increase ad inventory. And so CPCs, there's not a magic person at Amazon rising CPCs. CPCs are a function of an auction. CPCs will rise so long as people are bidding and feel as though it's profitable to bid more and more on search terms or ASINs. An interesting thing happened over the past couple of years that reverted a little bit in the last 2 quarters, but CPCs were basically flat for the first time for 18 months up until Q3 of this year. And so CPCs were flat. People are like, I'm not profitable anymore on Amazon. I'm not going to continue to bid. It's too competitive. So CPCs remain flat. The other thing is, as Amazon introduced more and more of these ad units, there was less and less ad inventory for them to introduce more advertising revenue opportunities and growth. So at the bottom of the funnel, these would be collectively considered bottom of funnel ads for Amazon. The growth prospects were rather minimal. And so that aspect of Amazon up until the last 2 quarters slowed down a bit. And to give you a sense of size, this is a very rough anecdotal number. Amazon does not disclose this. I would probably say sponsored ads represent 80% of Amazon's ad business. So let's say Amazon's a $50 billion business. Sponsored ads are 40 of the 50. Now, the other 20% is leveraging Amazon's first-party shopping data to create audiences within the Amazon DSP. And the Amazon DSP allows you to buy ads on third-party publishers on Amazon, display ads on third-party publishers in Amazon, and also allows you to buy TV and video ads on Amazon owned and operated TV properties. And some of those properties would be IMDb TV, IMDb TV is now Freevee, so Freevee, Twitch, Prime Video, Fire Stick channels, third-party publishers within Prime Video and Fire Stick. I think that's it. And so when we think about Amazon's growth potential, a lot of the growth potential is going to come with the DSP and these upper funnel efforts. And the reason being is there isn't this hard cap of CPCs on site and ad inventory on site. There's relatively an infinite amount of ad inventory on the internet for people to buy using Amazon's ad tech. Not infinite, but there's a significantly higher growth opportunity for people to buy inventory using Amazon's ad tech. And Amazon is investing a lot in this. And so a lot of their sales and a lot of their marketing and a lot of their product and engineering efforts are all geared towards pushing customers to their upper funnel ad units, because that's where a lot of the growth is going to come from. So when we talk about Prime Video ads, which just launched this week, this is a really good example. So Prime Video ads are going to be purchased within the Amazon DSP using Amazon's ad tech, like Amazon Marketing Cloud, for the measurement of the efficacy of those Prime Video ads. And when we say, I just corrected myself in saying it's an infinite amount of ad inventory. There is a finite amount of ad inventory on video properties. And so what we're seeing now is Amazon increasing the ad load by introducing ads to Prime Video and buying other content, like buying sports rights. I think we saw that Bally deal where they acquired sports rights to Bally as the streamer. That will inherently lead to more ad inventory for TV media buying.
And within that, I mean, going upper funnel to trying to acquire more brand dollars seems almost to the antithesis of what Amazon started as, right? Of like, we're going to get people to buy something now, and we've got this giant third party seller ecosystem of drop shippers, of small retailers that are just driving volume. And so, with your experience at Perpetua, like, what does the brand opportunity represent on Amazon from the existing sellers, or is that just a totally new market that they're going to have to go capture?
I think that's a really, really good question. So the bottom of funnel, the pure play performance ads on Amazon.com are becoming increasingly competitive, such that people are aware that they can't increase their bids on some of these keywords at a profitable level. So then the question is, how do they make media investments? And we're talking through like endemic Amazon brands specifically. How do you make media investments to drive more sales at a profitable level? So generally speaking, that would be offsite investments that are more efficient. So TV ads are definitely not that, or offsite ads that make people more familiar with your brand such that your onsite ads are more efficient. So if we think about TV advertising for endemic Amazon brands, a TV ad isn't going to immediately get you to purchase that product most instances, but it might get you to search for your branded term, which you can bid on at a significantly cheaper rate, or it might increase the click-through rate or conversion rate of a generic term on Amazon that will thereby make your ads and profits more efficient. So I think that's the interesting thing to think of for many of these brands is many of them, because Amazon has become so competitive, are capped out at the bottom of the funnel, and they need to begin making investments at the top of the funnel in order to make the rest of their advertising strategy better and more efficient. And so you're seeing that for endemic Amazon brands, but you're also seeing that now non-endemic brands are leaning into Amazon, particularly their TV properties, to leverage Amazon's ad tech to buy television ads and measure those ads using some of Amazon's ad tech capabilities, unlike other connected TV media buying or linear TV media buying capabilities.
It's interesting when you think about, obviously, for me, I always think about everything in the context of Meta. I think just based on my background and then just them messing with us constantly when we were at Snap. And um, like obviously, like Zuck was always going around acquiring effectively inventory, right? Between like WhatsApp and Instagram, and now he's creating inventory potentially with Quest. Like, is Amazon as their portfolio, you know, exists today, gonna run into some of these supply constraints? Like, basically, the are they gonna have to like buy Snap? Are they gonna have to buy a social network? Like, every one of these scale players basically has some form of a social network generating organic inventory for them that doesn't have a rev share tied to it, right? And that's like incredible for their margin profile. So, yeah, what's kind of like the state of their inventory? Like, yeah, I don't know if you have a point of view on that.
Yeah, I mean, their inventory on site is capped out. They cannot introduce more ad inventory on site. I'm sure they can, but it's going to be very hard to generate uh, multi-billion dollars of incremental ad inventory on site on Amazon. So Amazon needs to acquire more inventory on their TV properties, or another way to think about it within the lens of Amazon, and this is for endemic brands specifically. Many endemic brands allocate a percentage of their advertising relative to their sales. So they will create their advertising budget on Amazon relative to their expected GMV. And so I think a stat came out yesterday when Amazon did their earnings that Amazon's ad revenue is about 7% of their GMV, all up Amazon, which is best in class for any retail media network. I'm pretty sure Instacart's is at like high or mid 2%. And so one of the ways that Amazon can increase their ad revenue is to increase sales for people. If consumers are buying more, then the brands that are advertising on Amazon are always going to be buying more in ads, period, full stop. And they're going to be reinvesting their sales back into advertising because they believe it's going to continue to drive more sales. And I said the growth of Amazon's advertising business kind of plateaued on sponsored ads. And what we saw in the past 2 quarters is CPCs rose for the first time in a while, and conversion rates actually rose as well. So that might speak to the American consumer and macro environment, but it's really interesting that Jassy in his Q3 results, not the most recent ones, specifically cited that search ads overperformed what they were expecting, and that's because they saw a significant jump in conversion rate. So Amazon can always try to increase conversion rate, which will thereby increase sales, which will thereby increase more investments. But certainly at the top of the funnel, Amazon in general will absolutely need to increase more and more ad inventory. And the way that they do that is they either have more people watching Prime Video, or they have more content on Prime Video and Prime Video TV devices for them to increase ad load there. And it could be through sports. So sports is an incredibly strategic asset for many of these streamers because there's natural ad breaks in sports, right? Like I've watched so many sports on a connected TV device in which when there's a timeout, it says commercial break in progress. And I'd actually prefer to see a commercial in those instances. And so sports presents these natural ad breaks that bring people into your TV ecosystem, which hopefully will create habits and allow them to watch more content outside of that. So I think that you'll see Amazon continue to invest more and more in content on Prime Video, and they're really making a big bet in sports. So they just bought NASCAR rights. They have Champions League rights in Europe. They have some Premier League rights in Europe. The NBA rights deal is up right now, and I'd be very surprised if Amazon doesn't win that. And I think that's going to get announced in the next couple of weeks at All-Star Weekend. They usually do that. And
you're like a diehard Raptors fan, right?
I like basketball, James. I do.
I see you tweet about this a lot.
I like basketball. And so Toronto's my team. It's been a tough year for us, but Scotty Barnes is an excellent player. He's a shining spotlight for this year for us.
Where does Twitch like have a role in all this, or is it like?
Yeah, well, we talk about ad inventory. The number of hours and eyeballs on Twitch is very significant. I don't know if that's been growing. I know that Amazon laid off a bunch of people at Twitch recently. I think that's public. I don't know to what extent they're making investments there, and I'm not a gamer myself, so I don't know like if Twitch is as relevant as it once was when Amazon acquired it or thereafter. But absolutely, Twitch's ad inventory and that they can serve both display and TV ads or video ads through their DSP on Twitch.
And then for, their earnings in particular, like, I mean, it's been sort of, I think, overshadowed just by Meta, but like, I think as of right now, today, I mean, it's up 8%. And
Mhm.
this is a 1.7, almost a $1.8 trillion company that's up 8%. Is that like on the back? Is this on, is the future of Amazon? Like, is this a mix of AWS and ads? Like, what is it that people are so excited about? Do you have a sense of that?
Yeah, ads grew a lot. Ads grew 25% quarter or year on year. Q4 is always a really strong year for ads on Amazon. So I think that people are reacting to the continued growth of ads on a significantly higher baseline than years before. And I think that people recognize the Prime Video opportunity with ads. Many analysts are suggesting that Amazon is going to make $3 billion on ad revenue alone on Prime Video this year. And this year is very much a V1. Like you unless you're doing a programmatic guarantee deal with Amazon's managed service right now, it's very difficult to buy Prime Video ads. They haven't opened up the floodgates. The ad inventory is low. They've explicitly said it's going to remain low for a little bit as they test things out. So Prime Video ads are going to be a massive opportunity for many, many brands to invest a lot in TV budgets. And I think the market recognizes that. With respect to AWS, AWS is a $100 billion business that just increased their growth rate from 12% to 13%. And it's likely that they're going to continue to do that as AI computing and AI opportunities accelerate. So I don't know if we want to get into the cloud earnings discussion here today, but
It's
Amazon's a pretty good business.
yeah,
Yeah.
1.8 trillion is pretty impressive.
I'm gonna sneeze that. I mean, with your background on the payments and finance side, like James and I talk about this a lot. I mean, we've written about this, but like, what does payments represent as an asset to Amazon, whether a revenue asset as well as a data asset? We always talk about it in terms of like data acquisition, measurement, ad optimization. But like, can you tell us from your perspective, like how strong is that as an asset? And then is there a broader play available there?
Yeah, I think you guys should rebrand your thesis from payments to conversions. Payments denotes some sort of like fintech play, but I think that conversions or transactions are the new cookies. Would be a little bit more relevant to advertising potentially, but this just speaks to the whole retail media opportunity. It doesn't just speak to Amazon independently. Retail media lived in this world of closed loop measurement. So upon seeing this ad exposure, did I convert or not? Period, full stop. And the power of Amazon is that amongst all of the retail media players, they have the widest scale on number of conversions, and they have many of the quickest feedback loops on from ad to conversion. I mentioned that 90% of customers purchase a product after clicking on a sponsored product ads. And so you're able to get an incredible amount of purchasing data. And that's why Amazon's DSP is such a powerful asset. Amazon has these like 2,500 or 3,000 audiences called in-market audiences that allow you to create really, really relevant display and video ads based on their first-party shopping behavior. And more recently, they've introduced the ability to build lookalike audiences using Amazon Marketing Cloud of finding high intent customers. So for example, like high LTV customers and creating lookalikes against that for the Amazon DSP. And so more broadly, yeah, payments and conversions are really, really important to retail media. And that's why you see retail media becoming such an incredible growth engine in this world of signal loss, in that the highest possible signal is, what did that person ultimately do? Did they buy my product or not? And while not everyone has the power and scale of Amazon for on-site sponsored ads, all of these retail media partners or all those retail media networks, they do have insights into what that person did upon seeing the ad exposure. And so that's why we see this rise of retail media. Like, did that person buy a product in store on Walmart from seeing this ad exposure? You can actually find that out from buying ads within the Walmart DSP. They provide omni-channel reporting for in-store and online with the Walmart DSP. And so if you're a brand and Walmart is one of your largest sales channels, which is the case for many, many brands in the United States, why wouldn't you allocate a significant amount of your media budget to something that is going to be able to provide you with measurement that many of the channels that lost signal over the past few years won't be able to provide anymore? And
Sure.
so that's why you're seeing this sort of growth within retail media. That's exactly it.
Yeah, it's interesting. There's two things. One is we were going to call it transactions are the new cookies, but then it wasn't as good for like emojis when we were writing
Ah,
tweets about it. So we went to payments. That's where that's how sophisticated our thought process is. And then, but you talk about Walmart, and that's something that that we have some friends at Snap that are over there now on the sales team. Like, where is that? Yeah, what's kind of the state of Walmart, I guess, like in comparison to Amazon? How sophisticated is it? Like what's kind of like
yeah.
what's the take there?
Walmart's done an incredible job of building their retail media business. They haven't done their earnings recently, but last that time I saw it, they had a $3.5 billion advertising business. So a little bit like probably, what does that end up being? That's like in between 5 to 6% of Amazon. I'm bad at math in my head. And so they've done a really good job. Like, Walmart on-site sponsored ads are really effective. Their CPCs are probably 60% of that of Amazon, and their conversion rates and click-through rates are a little bit lower than Amazon as well. But Walmart's done a very, very good job of building their sponsored ads business. They've hired a lot of ex-Amazon folks, and I think they've done that in a very strategic way, and that they haven't tried to rewrite the playbook. So Amazon kind of built the playbook of this is how you buy on-site sponsored ads and retail media. And Walmart said, okay, great job. We're going to do the same thing, but we're going to do it for brands and people that buy and sell on our platform. And in doing so, they created a sense of uniformity around how to buy these ads, which made it really easy for agencies and really easy for third-party partners like us at Perpetua to build on top of their APIs, because it was the same name of the ad, it was the same file format for the video ads, and so they did a really, really good job of lowering the friction of buying Walmart ads and making subtle changes. Initially, it was a first price auction. They quickly pivoted to a second price auction. But one of the things that Walmart has that few other retail media networks have, and Connor McKenna, who was on your podcast a while ago, I think, alluded to this when people talk about their JBPs with Walmart, in which Walmart is now, it's not really a partnership anymore. It's more like a hostage negotiation in which Walmart is like holding you for ransom, because what Walmart is effectively able to do is Walmart says, hey, we're your largest sales channel globally. And so rather than now, they're having a blended discussion across retail media and in-store shopper marketing, in which they're saying, you know what, rather than spending $50 million on end caps, why don't you commit to $50 million in retail media? And brands have to say yes. What are you going to say? Walmart is your biggest sales channel, and they make this as prerequisite for them buying a significant amount of your products. Now, the thing is, you're capped at the amount of people are clicking on-site ads on Walmart. So if you have a $50 million retail media budget annually with Walmart, you can, and for example, there's only $30 million of clicks coming from on-site ads. Well, you have to come up with that 20 million somewhere, and Walmart's done a really good job of partnering with trade desks such that they can use Walmart audiences to buy display and video ads through the trade desk, in which you just throw those $20 million and say, let it rip, and you don't really care about ROAS because you've already committed to the spend either way. And so Walmart has this incredible amount of leverage in brands to invest in those upper funnel investments in instances in which they may not be performant as they are in other channels. And more broadly, that's one of the most interesting things about retail media that people don't talk about is if you're a retailer in which you represent one of the one or two retail channels for a brand, these retailers have an incredible amount of leverage in creating these joint discussions for shopper marketing dollars and retail media. And when people talk about offsite retail media, the reason why it's so enticing is because you can spend an infinite amount of money using a retailer's first party data to buy display and video ads in the open web. And so that's where there's a lot of growth potential. There's a lot of growth potential for Amazon. There's a lot of growth potential for other retailers. And so when you see like this company saying like, oh, I can't believe they spun up a retail media network. Like, let's just say like, I hope I don't offend anyone. Let's just say CVS, like health and pharma are huge advertisers in the US. CVS's first party data to buying health and pharma ads on the open web is probably the highest signal audience data I could possibly get. So of course CVS should have a retail media network. Now, if I can close the loop on in-store and online sales on CVS as well, then that's incredible. And so Walmart is really the probably the most relevant retailer in this, in understanding this point of leverage of I wouldn't say forcing brands, but suggesting that brands spend significantly more on retail media, and brands listen because Walmart matters an incredible amount to them. And other retailers are following suit. They just have less leverage than something like Walmart.
Yeah, but it makes me just think about how strong Walmart's hand would have been if they could have gotten the Trump administration to push TikTok to them. I mean, because the problem with what you're describing for most of these businesses, not a problem, but both Amazon and Walmart do have this sort of funny problem of like, because you don't have a YouTube or you don't have an Instagram, you just don't have all this inventory being created for you for free. You have to go out and pay for it. So if these guys can get their hands on O&O that is being created organically versus, through content rights, I mean, to your point, like Walmart would start printing money. I mean, if they could just move that inventory, the offsite stuff, to TikTok, and they own TikTok and you have just TikTok's business there, I mean, that would be unbelievable. I wonder how much they're supporting the Trump administration given that, I guess, but that's probably a different story. But yeah, that's pretty interesting.
I mean, hearing you, James, talk about that, I mean, I think about Amazon and even like Walmart and Target, like they all have these inserts. Amazon, they're digital, but like they are trying to get people to engage more with this content. But like there is an overexposure to like looking at products, deciding what I could possibly buy in the world that I may not need. And to your point, it's like, yeah, where are they going to find a non transaction oriented piece of content or inventory? I don't know. Adam, do you think like they eventually get there? They figure this out. I know they rolled out some apps. They have obviously Twitch, and you've talked about TV, but like, do you think this is something that they eventually figure out?
I don't know to what extent it necessarily needs to be figured out. Like Amazon has let's just in the world of Amazon, they still have a long way to go with the opportunity in front of them. They just introduced Prime Video ads. They're going to buy more sports rights. There's going to be a significant amount of opportunity at the top of the funnel for them to become very quickly the largest streaming advertiser outside of probably Google and YouTube within the next 2 years. So I don't think they necessarily need to worry about having this finite amount of inventory. On the other side of someone like Walmart and other retail media partners, that's why you see so many partnerships. Like literally Walmart just introduced a partnership yesterday of working with TikTok, in which you can use Walmart audiences to, you're smiling, James. This is,
Oh, no.
you didn't know about this when you suggested your M&A
No.
possibilities.
No, I was reading it. I was sending it to a friend the other day. It's just so funny that like, it's the Shopify news, the shop campaign stuff is also kind of in the same vein. It's just so funny that it's just going to be custom audiences being pushed around the internet.
Yes.
And yeah,
Ultimately, the question really becomes attribution, right? So like, cool. So Walmart audiences and TikTok totally get it. And that's likely going to be the case in many instances. And I'm sure this won't be the first retail media partner that TikTok announces, but what's the attribution loop? How do you close the loop on Walmart purchases with TikTok? That's the thing that I'm most interested in. We actually had this problem at Perpetua where our team built a really cool creator product in which many people were using creators to generate interest offsite on their products on Amazon. But the attribution back to Amazon sales was a challenge. Oftentimes you'd have to go through like a couple like browser hoops in which the attribution link didn't end up working. People don't put in the promo code that creators add. So you're able to see a lift if your products went viral. Not all products went viral, and it was really tough to attribute. So what I'm curious to know in that TikTok Walmart announcement is, how do they get the attribution? I'm not sure. Is there a TikTok Shop Walmart play in which TikTok begins to plug into Walmart's distribution centers for products that won't normally be on TikTok Shop? Like, for the most part, I think it's fair to say that the TikTok Shop and Walmart SKU selection is very different. So maybe they do a partnership there. That could be pretty interesting. I'm not sure, but I think in general, this is the most exciting part of ad tech, is seeing where these partnerships form and how companies can help build software or services to enable some of these partnerships to be more effective.
And that's actually a good segue to something we were talking about before the call. But will you explain to everyone what the Meta Amazon partnership and the Snap Amazon partnership actually is?
Sure. So I think it's important to back it up a little bit and understand uh, Amazon historically has been one of the largest buyers of Google ads in the world. I think many people know this. Amazon has historically bought tons and tons of Google ads to bring people back to Amazon.com to purchase products. And I don't know who coined this phrase, but it's a great line that Amazon looks at their P&L and basically takes any cost and turns it into a revenue source. And so Amazon realized, hey, we're buying all of these Google ads. Why don't we tell our sellers and vendors to buy these ads instead of us, given that they're profitable to buy these Google ads and we know that they're profitable? And so what Amazon eventually built this thing called Amazon attribution. So if you were a seller or vendor on Amazon and you were historically buying Google ads, you know that someone would click the ads, you know that a sale would come to Amazon, but you were never able to attribute it back to Google. And Amazon, about 3 or 4 years ago, built attribution links for people to begin to attribute those ads properly. And so they basically took this massive line item in which they were buying, let's call it hundreds of millions of dollars in Google ads, and put it onto their sellers. And getting back to my previous point of Amazon ads as a function of how many sales occur on Amazon, how do you get more sales on Amazon? Well, you get more people to Amazon. So you bring people from Google, you can bring people from Meta to Amazon. And so from what I understand, the Meta Amazon announcement that happened a few months ago, a lot of people said, oh, this is a big play for like Amazon ads, to buy Amazon ads in Meta, where it's actually not the case. So it's actually Amazon's team buying Meta ads that allow you to convert on Amazon purchases on Meta, with the data of those conversions going back to Meta to make those ads more efficient. Does that make sense? So it's Amazon actually buying the ads themselves to increase sales on Amazon. And what you're then going to see is Amazon's like dog fooding their own product. They're saying, oh, we figured out how to do this on Meta. Now we're going to enable attribution. We're going to enable better measurement for our customers. And so, hey, customers, Meta ads to Amazon work. Here's how you do it. Now you all go do it yourself. And Meta benefits because they're increasing their ad revenue significantly. And Amazon benefits because they're increasing their sales. And so what will become interesting is when Amazon flips that switch and says to all of their customers and advertisers, hey, now it's time for you to begin buying these ads.
Interesting. That's a very good. So it's funny because it's like Shopify audiences in a weird way. It ends up being, that's like a whole separate podcast we should do about Shopify. But interesting. And then,
well, James, let's talk about that for a minute, because you're pumped about what Shopify is doing, and I think they're missing an opportunity. So why are you pumped? Why do you think this is awesome right now?
I think the shop campaigns that they just announced with a very cryptic one cheater, could be extremely cool, because I mean, what they're really doing is they're basically saying, we're going to build like the D2C e-commerce ad manager. So, they have Shopify audiences right now. That's like an appendage. I think that gets folded in to shop campaigns. If you are a Shopify merchant, you'll go set up your shop campaign. That is now your default. You'll put in basically your target CPA, and then they're going to go out and they will arb you across all the walled gardens. And it's funny because it's like your old business, and in a weird way, it's like my first business Shift. We weren't arbing, we were starting to spend. But I think that Shopify has just a really big opportunity to be the demand source for these e-commerce brands. And to your point, Shopify gets stronger as they get more sales data, similar to Amazon. And Shopify can lend to you, right? So you have Shopify Capital, you're financing the ads, you're taking back your loan off of the payment, and you're getting a kickback from the ad platforms in the form of commission as you were actually buying on this. So it is a super, super high margin business if they can pull it off. And
So
that
I
seems
I
smart.
agree with all of that. I agree with the opportunity in front of them is very significant. I think Shopify 100% has a $5 to $10 billion retail media opportunity right in front of them. I don't believe that they're executing on that. I think that they're almost like a little too benevolent in that Shopify doesn't care to make money on ads at the moment. Audiences are only available via if you upgrade to
Plus.
Shopify Plus.
Yeah.
They don't charge you for audiences. They could absolutely charge you a CPM markup on audiences.
They won't have to anymore though with shop campaigns because they're going to fold it in there. It's going to be just like the Amazon DSP or like Facebook Audience Network. You're just going to build a campaign. They're going to use generative AI to give you all the creative. You're going to put in your CPA, and then you don't even have to care about the audiences. Those take forward. It'll be like PMax for all of your e-com, right? For these D2C brands. And that thing will crush. I agree. The way they're doing it now is kind of like, it's like clever, but it's like cute. It's like, what do you,
Yeah.
you know what I mean? So I think this new thing, which it doesn't even really exist yet. I think it's literally just a PowerPoint. They've announced it editions. I do think if they can roll that out properly, it could be a monster.
Yeah, one of my biggest gripes is that I don't think that it's operating at a scale that it really matters at the moment, but shop campaigns for on-site shop, like the shop purchases, are really just promotional campaigns when those should be pay-per-click campaigns. And you all have worked with agencies. How do agencies make money, and how do agencies buy media? They buy media as a percentage of ad spend. They don't like promotions create an element of friction where it's like, how do I create a business model out of this? Whereas if I'm controlling a percentage of all of your aggregate ad spend, well, Shopify on a pay-per-click model for on-site search and browse and product detail page on the shop app is now another channel for me to add retail media spend. And I'm guessing that their conversion rates are going to be very high, given that you already have your payment and address information in app, and which is just one-click checkout. So I think the model and the playbook for all these other retail media networks is start at the bottom of the funnel, build up data at the bottom of the funnel, use data from the bottom of the funnel to then use audiences offsite. And the strength
They're
for
like
Shopify will
they're
be
going
in
backwards.
yeah.
Ironically, they just don't have the inventory on the shop
Yes.
app yet. So I think that's
Yes.
their pickle, but I think they'll be in 2024, whatever it is, by the end of this year, they are going to be, I think, like the largest advertiser in aggregate for like Snap, for like, I think for Meta, they'll be, if maybe top 3. Like, I think they are going to be the demand source for these guys via these shop campaigns. And although the margins usually are not really high when doing these audience extension plays, they have so many levers that they can increase the margins. So I think there's a play, but I agree. I mean, if they can figure out a way for people to spend more time on Shop app, it's pretty impactful.
Yeah, and beyond that, if they announce at one of their quarterly earnings, hey, we're going to spin up a retail media business and we're going to make money off of ads, that stock is popping 10% on that announcement alone.
Yeah. When they announced it, no one notices that. I'll send you the one sheet. You got to read this.
I've seen their stuff, but it's not. They're saying that they're introducing campaigns, but they're not saying we're generating money through ads. We're generating money through increasing our GMV, which helps our merchants, and maybe our merchants pay us more through Shopify Plus. but it's not this incredible cash printing machine of retail media advertising that so many others are doing. And that's where I'd like to see them play.
Wasn't that basically though the Amazon play? Like back in the day,
Yeah.
nobody looked at ads, and it was, we're helping our merchants sell more. It's going to increase GMV, and we're going to get it on that side of the business. And then 5 years later, it's a $15 billion business, and now 50.
Yeah. I think Amazon has historically been a little bit more ruthless and less benevolent to their merchants than Shopify.
Yeah.
And I never think they put that sort of spin on it the way that Shopify does.
I think a year from now
that
we're
is the
going to be
playbook.
Yes. And a year from now, I think we're going to be like, maybe Shopify wasn't as nice as we thought, which will be a good thing for them.
Good. Yeah. Good for them. I'm a shareholder. I would love them to do that.
I think it's
Let's
coming.
bring you back on. End of this year, we do a recap. We see state of Shopify, state of Amazon, and we see whose projection was more on target. I like it though.
Okay, man. Thank you for doing this. I know you got a bunch of stuff going on, but it's fun to do it. And I think let's whenever you figure out whatever you're doing next, you let us know. And
for sure.
But thank you for taking the time, and go Raptors, I guess.
Well, I actually hope for Raptors losses and tanking. But Thank you for having me, guys. Honestly, you guys have done a phenomenal job on this podcast. And as a listener, I've learned a ton. You have amazing guests. You're both really good at what you do on this. So keep on going. And I'm honored and humbled to be here. Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Thanks,
Sam.
man.